Hello, fellow wealth builders, and welcome back to the TruFinancials channel. My name, of course, is Dennis, and today we're actually going to be talking about how I purchased my first home. Really quick though, if you are new to this channel, I do like to talk a lot about personal finance, investing, and retirement. So if you're interested in any one or all those subjects, definitely consider subscribing today, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon to get notifications when new videos do come up. Now, before I get into the actual story of how I bought my first home, just to kind of be clear, this is not a how to purchase your first home. I do have a video on tips on buying a home, but this is more about just the things that ended up happening for me, and some of the things I believe that if you are intentional with can happen to you as well too. So to get into it, I did purchase my first home. I say first, it's my only home right now. But I was like 21 going on to 22, and it was an amazing experience, obviously, being able to have a home purchased outright. If you don't already know, so I actually was able to just buy my house in cash, in full, but that wasn't the original intention. So I wasn't going in trying to buy a home in cash, but it just ended up working out that way. And I'll kind of go over some of the reasons why that ended up happening. But a lot of hard work and luck and some good timing all played factors into this too. So don't think that it was just me, coming into some bunch of money or whatever the case may be. So when I was a little bit younger, around 18 years old, I was working really hard for the company that I was with. So I was showing them what I had to offer as far as work, and I put in the time, I put in the effort, and I showed them all this hard work. And I came into the point where I was able to get a great promotion and being able to make a certain amount of money that people at 18, 19 years old don't tend to make as much of. And so when I got put into this position, I started looking at all of my finances and saying, okay, well, I'm going to have a lot more money now. What do I want to have my money intended for? And, that's when I came up with the decision of saying, well, I want to put this towards a house. And it seemed very far-fetched for most people when I was talking to them, saying that I want to save up for a house, especially with being as young as I was. Now, I knew that for a typical home, at least at that time, I was only going to be able to put a decent down payment and then have a mortgage. But my intentions was to pay that mortgage down as well too, or as quickly as possible. And so I started putting money aside. But because I was still getting used to budgeting on my own, having all my own expenses at this time, because I was moving out of the home or out of my parents' home and having my own place, I was paying rent, electricity, all these different things that started coming up. But my income was able to cover that, plus being able to save for this home. And one of the biggest things I noticed right away while I was still getting better at budgeting my money and figuring out where it was all going was that I was, just like most people, kind of overspending in small categories and small amounts. So I don't know if you've ever heard of the phrase "death by a thousand cuts," but it's a reference based off of little things coming into play that can have a big effect on you. So a lot of times people make the excuse of saying, well, it's only $3, or this is only $20. Well, this meal is only $8.50. Whatever the case may be, they use a small amount to justify their purchases, but what ends up happening is all those little jabs at your budget that you're utilizing your purchases for have a huge impact in the long term. So for me, I started cutting out a lot of those things. Now, I'm a saver to begin with for the most part, but it wasn't easy to say, well, hey, I'm not going to be going out as much, or I'm not going to be spending money on the things that I like as much, because I had a bigger goal. I personally like to think long term. That's why I love retirement so much, because it is a long-term thing. So I had patience for the things that I wanted to get. So I started cutting a lot more of those things out and started to put more money aside. So a couple years later, I got to a point where I was able to move back to the area where I originally was from, in the area here that I'm currently at. And so what ended up happening was, when I came back, I had this good chunk of money set aside, and my dad and I were actually going to be working together on this. So if you actually watched on my how to buy a used car, he also helped me in that, because he does have a passion for cars and properties and looking for those type of deals. And so we were looking, and to be 100% honest, it wasn't something that we were looking to just go quickly purchase a home. We were doing it for the long term, because I wasn't just looking for a home for me. I was looking for a home that in the future I can have rented out and have a passive income for. So I wanted to make sure it was the right house that I would end up getting. And So we took quite a few months actually to look at properties, look online, go with our real estate agent to actually look at these different places and make sure that we're getting a good deal. Now, that's not to say that I didn't get a little bit of house fever, because that can happen. But luckily, I had my dad there to kind of put me back on track and making sure that I understood that, just because it's, one of the first couple homes that I see doesn't mean that that's all there is to offer. So after a couple of months, we got to a point where we found a great deal on a home. Here in the Phoenix area, the housing crisis took a huge dive, and that was one of the timings that I was mentioning earlier. The timing was so great. So the homes were much cheaper at the time. So one of the houses we were looking at, it was around $75,000 to like $80,000. So the money that we were going to put towards it was going to be a huge down payment, and we'd have a very small or I would have a very small mortgage. And I would probably end up paying that off too if I ended up getting a mortgage for it. But that was the original intention. It was, again, just to have a really good down payment and then be able to purchase my home. So what ended up happening, though, was there was an electrical fire, and the bank unfortunately didn't allow us to purchase the home. They felt it was going to be unsafe and it was going to cost too much for me to have to repair it as a first-time home buyer. But luckily, because like I mentioned, luck has a lot to do with it, luckily the very next home was actually the home that I'm currently in. And so what ended up happening was we saw this home next, and it was a little beaten down, and it was going for a very low amount. So low to the point where I felt that maybe I could offer a cash offer for the home. And what we got back was from our agent telling us that there was actually a few other higher priced offers. And so the people that were putting in those offers were looking to get mortgages for the house, and we were being able to pay or offer just cash for the home. And I don't know if the investor that actually had the home at the time, whether he was just being a nice guy or saw that I was working really hard with the cash that I had in the bank and the age that I was, but he accepted our offer for cash versus the higher amount that he would have gotten for somebody paying a mortgage. Now, granted, I don't know if it was also time that he needed the money, so if he needed the money quickly, because obviously going through getting a mortgage was going to take a lot longer than just transferring cash. So that was kind of like the process there, but I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of that had to do with the hard work that I put into it prior, and that just because I got lucky in that sense doesn't mean that that's all that played into effect. And what I mean by that too is, I didn't know that there was going to be a housing crisis when I started saving up for my home. I didn't know that that was going to end up happening. So in the grand scheme of things, if I didn't start saving for it, and then I came to that time of the year where I ended up purchasing the home, if I didn't have that money, I probably wouldn't have been able to get this house. So, all that work comes into play, and I believe that the more hard work you put in, the more luck ends up coming towards you. If you watch the Dave Ramsey show, you'll hear a lot of stories about people getting out of debt. And they would say, well, we were projecting to take 2.5 years to 3 years, and we ended up doing it in 2 years. And the reasons for it was they got promotions, they got raises, they got money came in from somewhere else, and they had this luck that played a factor. But I don't believe it's just a random luck. I believe that they were so intentional about what they wanted to do with their money that luck kind of just was built up on top of all that hard work. So. Again, like I mentioned, this wasn't a video about how you can do it easily. This is a very long game. This is something where you have to be dedicated and you want to be able to reach those goals. So, definitely put in that hard work, put in that effort, because it is possible for anyone that wants to save up for a house to be able to do it. But you just have to be intentional with what you want to put your money towards. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you are currently looking at purchasing a home and you're working towards that, put a comment in the comment sections down below. Let me know, are you trying to cut some stuff out of your budget? Are you working a second job? How much are you trying to put down? Are you trying to do that 20% down, or are you trying to do 100% down? So let me know. And then if you already purchased a home, put it in the comment sections down below for other people that might want additional tips or things that can help them purchase their first home as well. So hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much, fellow wealth builders, and have a great day.